Hey eBay friends, it's Suzanne A. Wells, and thank you for coming back for another opposite of a haul video showing you things that have actually sold on my eBay account. If you are new to this type of video, I keep a board on Pinterest. I have kept this since Pinterest started, I think back in 2013, where I just took a screenshot of my sold item and the price and put this on my Pinterest board to help me remember the kinds of things that sell, and also for my coaching clients who would ask, what can you sell? So these are things I have actually sold over the years, and I will comment on if I would sell them again today because things do change on eBay. But I have tried to build a business over the years that is sustainable, that thrives on things like wardrobe staples that you can sell over and over again. I don't get into the fads, I don't get into the hype. I've tried to build a business with a very strong foundation and base so that I can continue to grow it year after year, or at least maintain it while I do other things. eBay is always running in the background for me, even though it may not be my sole source of income. At this point, it's always been there. So, getting into the video, we stopped last time with the Fisherman of Gloucester needlepoint. So, let's go on to the next item, and we're going to talk about a brand of cashmere that you definitely want to look for called TSE Cashmere. And this was just a basic cashmere sweater. I've put underneath my pins here what I paid for it and how much it sold for. So there is a link to my Pinterest board underneath the comments, so you can check that out if you have lots of time to scan through these things. So this item I bought at $2 at a thrift store. It sold for $34.97. The brand is TSE Cashmere. It's very high end, and this one holds its value very well. So this sold back in May of 2014. I would absolutely sell this item again. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. And okay, here's a good one. This I found at a garage sale for 50 cents. It was a Victoria's Secret body spray, and I think it might have been discontinued. You just never know with the discontinued items how much they're going to sell for. So I got it for 50 cents, did my research, priced it at $19.97, and it sold right away. So that does not mean that you price it too low when things sell right away. The buyer could have an alert set up. They were looking for this item, waiting for it to be posted, and as soon as it was, they purchased it. Okay, I think I've mentioned this a couple times, but this is another one that definitely bears repeating. These were Cuisinart replacement parts for a food processor, and I looked up the model number to make sure you want that in your listing, because if someone is looking for these replacement parts, they're going to search for the model number. So these were free. I think they were at a garage sale where I bought something else and I was looking at these parts and the guy just was like, here, you can just take those. So I sold these for $24.97 plus shipping. So never turn down anything free, because you just don't know. Take it with you. You can always redonate it or throw it away if it's no good, but you definitely don't want to turn down anything free, because if you watch enough of my videos, you'll see that people sell free stuff all the time. This was a great sale, one of my best. This is a Ralph Lauren collection purple label sweater. And I actually am going to make a note right here to do a video on the Ralph Lauren color labels, because there's like a hierarchy of Ralph Lauren that some labels don't sell for as much as others, and there's very high-end stuff, and you've got to know what labels to look for, because it may be a black label, but just because the label's black doesn't mean it is the black label that you can sell for a lot of money. So I have put that in my notes here. So this item, $2 at a thrift store, and it sold for $125. And this was in May of 2014. So if you think that cashmere does not sell year round, you are misinformed, because it absolutely does, especially if you are shipping internationally. So I'm going to put the link for my international video on the top right. If you are not shipping internationally, I am going to push you into it. I'm going to keep saying it until you do, because you are leaving money on the table. And you can start with the English speaking countries and get comfortable with it and then grow from there. But you are absolutely leaving money on the table if you're not shipping internationally, and that is the one thing you can do to increase your sales without having to do more work. You're just opening up your listings to more people around the world. Okay, let's move on to another one. This is a good brand to look for. It's called Not Your Daughter's Jeans, and it's NYDJ, Not Your Daughter's Jeans. These were $4 at a thrift store. I sold them for $33.97 plus shipping. So this is a brand to look for if you're not familiar with that. That's what NYDJ stands for. All right, let's see what else we've got here. I've talked a lot about the denim modesty skirts. Someone asked if Modesty is the brand. No, it is not the brand, it is the style. And this is basically just a longer skirt that's past the knees, usually fuller, not tight fitting, not with slits. A lot of them have an A-line cut, or what's called a tulip cut or fit and flare. And this is just a popular style of clothing. It's been associated with women who are, dress more modestly, and so that's where the modesty comes from. That is not the brand, that's the style. And I do have another video on modesty skirts. I will put the link to that in the top right, so you can go check that out if you're not familiar. But these are good steady sellers, and this one was $2 and it sold for what, $24.97. Okay. So I guess I'm going to help you guys learn by repetition, because you'll see on my sold board here a lot of things are repeated, and that's really how you build this business, is figuring out your go-to items, things you can spot immediately, or you'll get confident with types of things that sell, and you just repeat it over and over and over again, also while learning new things at the same time. So the next item is a very expensive brand, or can be. This is a Vineyard Vines, what's called a Shep shirt. It's a pullover that's like a half zip collar. And I remember finding this one and just about screaming out loud because I was so excited. And it was $4 at a Value Village here in Atlanta, and it sold for $69.97. So this is definitely a brand to learn if you are not familiar with it. The label is very easy to recognize, but this is a high-end brand that comes out of Martha's Vineyard and is very popular with the preppy dressers and guys that like to wear the bright colored ties. I think I might have a video on that. If not, it's probably time to do a new one, because they have really expanded in the past few years and they make so many more products now. Okay, so let's skip over here. Okay, this was a sale that came from Big Lots. I bought these Thermacell mosquito repellent refills. They were a total of $9, and this sold for $35. And of course, this was in the middle of the summer, so it was June 11th. So you just never know. Big Lots is a great source for inventory if you have time to figure out what's selling. But my philosophy is always go for the consumable or the refillable thing, and sell that consumable. So you don't want to sell printers, you want to sell printer ink. Um, you know, you don't want to sell makeup mirrors, you want to sell makeup. You want to sell the thing that somebody's going to use up and have to buy more of. And if even better, if you can corner the market on that with discontinued items, um, you can make a lot of money. I will say that private labeling, oops, I lost my place. Private labeling is something that people are trying to get into now. It's very hard to make money doing that simply because you've got to build your brand. And nobody's heard of Mary's Magic Paint or whatever you come up with, Suzanne's soap. Nobody's heard of that. So you've got to build that brand, and that can take a long time and a lot of money with marketing. So that's why selling used items is so great on eBay, because that brand recognition is already there. You don't have to do that work. You find something used, people know the brand, they know the quality of the brand reputation, the work's already done. You sell it at a good profit and just repeat it over and over and over and over again. Okay, so I found my place again, and let's talk about some Crocs. These still sell. So this pair I got for $2 at a thrift store, sold them for $29. When selling Crocs, I always put them in the washing machine, give them a good wash, because they can be gross and dirty. And this type that has the liner in it, this is called the Gretel style. There's also one called Mammoth that have this sort of sheepskin lining. You can take that out and wash it separately if it needs stain treatment or that type of thing. But these still sell really well, and they're easy to ship, they're lightweight, and I still look for them when they're cheap enough. Okay, here's a fun one. Well, fun if you're an eBay seller. I went to an estate sale, and they had these wooden clothespins, and they have the round head on them, so they didn't have the little spring where you can open and close them. It's just the kind you shove on the clothesline to hold up the clothes. And apparently this is a collectible thing. I got this whole box of 149 of them for $3, and they sold for $29.97 plus shipping. People make little dolls out of them, or just, if you've seen on Pinterest or Instagram or any of these sites where there's like home decor, and they have the photographs strung up on a string with, or some twine with clothespins. It's a big thing at weddings now to put pictures of the bride and groom as babies or children on these displays with the twine and the clothespins for a real rustic look. So they got to get them somewhere, and they go and buy them on eBay. So that was a fun sale. Okay, here's another good shoe brand. And I want to give a shout out to my student Ty, who lives in Brunswick, Georgia. She is in one of my mastermind groups, and she teaches us a lot about shoes. If you're not in a mastermind group, you need to consider it, because you can learn so much from other sellers, and everybody brings something different to the table. I will put the link to my mastermind group at the top. You can check that out. But so Ty is teaching us great shoe brands, because that is her niche, and she's very smart with it. So anyway, these are Birkenstock Madrid style, and yes, they're dirty and they look used, but it doesn't seem to matter with Birkenstocks. These I got for $6 at Goodwill, and they sold for $32.97. Probably put these in a padded mailer when I shipped them. You don't have to use the USPS shoebox. You can ship things in whatever you want as long as it's for the right class of mail. But I do try to keep the cost down for my buyer and choose the lowest cost shipping option, so that helps me stay competitive. You want to keep your shipping down because you've got to have that competitive edge, and you want to make it fair for your buyer. So Birkenstocks, it does not matter if they look trashed or like they've been run over by a car. It does not matter. They will still sell. Just make sure you look that up before you go buying hundreds of pairs of these. But I've sold them looking worse than this, and it's good money. Okay, let's see what else. Here's another pair of shoes. I always look for shoes. I'm just very picky with what I buy because I like a business that doesn't have a ton of inventory. That's just me in life. I just think I'm kind of a minimalist with an eBay store, and that's a contradictory thing. But I like high profit items. So I don't have to list as much, I don't have to sell as much. I spend my time looking. Okay, so this is a brand called Keen, and these jumped right off the shelf at me because they were so colorful. I got these at $6 at Goodwill, and they sold for $59.97. So that's the kind of profit margin I like, 10 times my investment, and something that's easy to ship and easy to store. Okay, I have a video on this. This is called Toleware, and this is a folk art type look. Well, it's actually folk art, and these were big back in the 60s and 70s. It's basically just it's hand painted on a black tray, or it could be on wooden items, tabletops, like small TV trays, that kind of thing. It's usually on black or wood, but it's hand painted. So there's the link to my video at the top. This I got for $4 at Goodwill, I think, and it sold for $34.97. And these are like mixed in with the crappy stuff because nobody at every thrift store knows everything. There's stuff that slips through and gets put out with the crappy stuff, and I think I found this like with all the plastic Tupperware, and it wasn't with the collectible stuff. And who knows, some other customer could have just picked it up and put it over there. But these will sell. This is a vintage item that will sell, and it's called Toleware. They're trays, there could be wooden items, all kinds of different things, or Tole, T-O-L-E, painting. Okay, here's one of my favorite brands to find, Anthropologie. And this one can be a little confusing because they have so many sub-brands that it's hard to know if it's an Anthropologie brand or not. So you want to go to the Anthropologie site and look at the sub-brands and learn those tags. This top I got for $2 at a thrift store, and it sold for $36.97. The sub-brand was called Sam and Max, and one of the design elements of this top is this peplum. That is definitely a word you want to use now because they're making peplum t-shirts, peplum tops. Back in the day, a peplum was attached to a dress, and it was kind of like an extra little skirt over the main skirt, or it was a suit that had this detail on the jacket, so it was like a little skirt attached to the suit jacket. But now that is a keyword. If you go on eBay and search for peplum, you'll see that that's something that could help your item come up in search, is my point. So if you've got anything like this with this little extra skirt looking thing on a top, or even some t-shirts, go back and add the word peplum, because buyers are searching for that, and that is the way to sell more items. I get this question all the time. I have great items. Can you look at my store? I go and look at their store, and they're just not using the key words that the buyers are using. So it's not that your stuff is bad. It's not that it's overpriced. Nothing's wrong with your listing other than the buyer that would buy that isn't finding it because the keywords aren't correct. So that is very important, to learn your buyer's language and use the words they're using in your listings so they'll find them. Okay, this one was a good sale, 60 cents again at Value Village. It's funny how you remember exactly where you got certain things. Even years later, I remember the day I bought this. Um, so this was 60 cents at Value Village and it sold for $25. It was just a cute little framed cross stitch piece that I don't think it had any glass on it. I love to find those that don't have glass, or I can easily take the glass out because then you don't have to worry about it breaking when you ship it. So these little handmade items, cross stitch needlework can be a good flip. And that's the kind of profit I like. Pay 60 cents for something, sell it for $25. Okay, what else have we got? Oh, a good Levi's trucker jacket. Love finding these. This one was $2 at a thrift store and it sold for $45. It sold in July. So all of you out there that have seasonal items and you don't think you should list them because no one will buy them in the off season, you are mistaken. Don't try to be your customer. You are not your customer. Just because you wouldn't buy a jacket in July doesn't mean nobody else will. And here's the proof. Everything sells all the time on eBay. It does not matter the season. It does not matter the holiday. I've sold Easter things around Halloween. I've sold Valentine things in the fall. It just doesn't matter. So if you have it, list it. It cannot sell if it's not listed. All right, let's see. This is a good item to look for. Granny Square Afghans. These are beautiful. You may remember these on the show Roseanne. They had one on their couch. This was also a big thing in the series back in the 80s, Dark Shadows. They had this Afghan that would, it was in a bunch of different scenes. There's this whole thing on YouTube about the Dark Shadows Afghan. You can look that up, and if you remember that show, this Afghan moved around. But it's the black is what sells for the most in my experience. So this one was $10 at an estate sale, which is more than I usually pay for things, but I knew what I could sell it for, and it sold for $79.97 plus shipping. And I remember the day this sold, I was at my sister's house swimming in her pool with some family, and I heard my phone go off and I got out of the pool to go see what sold. And it was this heavy blanket thing, and I was like, this is the life. I have arrived when I can be swimming in the pool and be making money, and this much money, and it's just, what could be better? I have made it. So if you have it, list it. It can't sell unless it's listed. All right, let's do a few more here. Oh, I remember this was a beautiful top. Let's see. Chico's. I always look at Chico's, especially if it's embellished, has beads on it, is a really loud color. This was a beautiful top that was a sheer piece over an underlayer, and it was $4 at a thrift store and it sold for $40. And I just thought the colors were beautiful. It was unusual looking. I think there was no size on it, which there is why there's no size in the title. It was like a one size kind of thing. It was really loose and flowy, so it wasn't sized. But just look for those sparkly things that jump off the rack at you because people like bling, they like sparkles. All right, here is another Vineyard Vines. This one was $1 at a thrift store. It sold for $22.97. Not a huge sale, but there's that brand again, Vineyard Vines. They do make a lot of things in pink, and their logo on their label is usually pink with navy blue background. So that can be easy to spot if you are flipping through the clothes really fast. That's what I do is I learn the labels so that I can stop when I see one that I recognize that's high dollar. Okay, this was a fantastic sale, and I do have another video about this. I've mentioned this before. I don't know why it's saying this thing about share on my links here. Oh, I know why, because it's going to the Examiner, and it's not there anymore. So it's just going to some random article. But anyway, this was a Waterford holiday heirlooms Santa ornament. And this was like one of my best sales. I went to a Christmas in July sale at this really, really crappy thrift store that I just stopped in there because I guess it was meant to be, but I didn't usually buy stuff in there. I'm just like, okay, I'll go look. And so pay attention to that little nudge you get when you feel like you need to go in a thrift store. There might be something great in there waiting for you, and that's the universe helping you out. So they had their Christmas in July sale, and like this whole table of stuff was $1. And so I saw this and I was like, that looks really unusual. And it was hand painted. And I was like, I bet somebody who would collect these might want this. And so it was in the box. And I had looked at the box. It was Waterford. So the more I looked at it, the more I realized this is something. This is something. And that store had really bad internet. So I did not even look it up. I just bought it. So I get home and I did my research on it and realized it was like in short supply. It was collectible. There was another one on, I think, replacements.com. So I priced it the same or maybe a little lower. And as you can see here, it sold for $84.97. One Christmas ornament, just because it was an annual one that was specific for that year. And this was in 2014, I think. It doesn't have the date on here. But I remember buying this item, and I remember when I sold it, I shipped it, and I looked up, who would buy something like this expensive in the middle of the summer. And so I looked up the address on Google Maps just out of curiosity to see where it was, and it was this high rise in Fort Lauderdale, in a very expensive area. And I thought, well, I guess they're just people who have money to spend on collectibles anytime they want. So, don't try to be your buyer. Don't try to get in their head, because I'll never understand that. But I'm happy to sell to these people, so that works for me. Let's see, where were we? Pinterest like moves things around when you're on here looking at stuff. Okay, here's a good one. I always look for this logo because, whoops, being from Atlanta, I recognize it. I guess that's not going to open. Let's see. My internet's been kind of wonky today. Let's try one more time. There we go. If you've watched me on YouTube or read my blog for any amount of time, you will recognize this Masters logo. The yellow with the red flag. I guess my internet is just not going to cooperate. Let me try to change. Anyway, what was this? $2. It sold for $25.97. Master stuff sells. There we go. I mean, there's nothing really special about this. It's just the logo on a brown hat. So pick these up. Hats can be profitable. You just have to learn which ones and be willing to take a risk. There's no guarantee in any of this. You just have to be willing to take a risk. Okay, and here we have a Robert Graham shirt. I love finding these. This one was really unique. It was a 2 extra large, so that was a plus. And it was 100% silk, and it had the LA Dodgers logo on the front, and the little pattern on the sleeves and the neckline was the Dodgers pattern. And I got it for $3 at Value Village again, and it sold for $99.97. I remember the day I found this, I just could not get home fast enough to get it listed. And it took a couple of months to sell, but it was worth it. So if you're not familiar with Robert Graham, look those up. There's lots of videos about that brand. I've seen those in other people's hauls. So that one's not, that one's pretty well known. Here we are again with Vineyard Vines. This was also from Value Village. It was a dollar, and it had mermaids on it. It was really cute, and it sold for $62 for one tie. I mean, I still can't get over this business, how you can find stuff for a dollar and sell it for over $50. Does this happen every single time I go out? Of course not. I've put my best sales on this Pinterest board. Um, I sell stuff for $20, $30 all the time, but I'm showing you what's possible here because it is possible. It's been done. I've done it. And here's the proof. That's why I did these screenshots because anybody can say anything they want about what they sold on eBay, but I wanted to make this real, no hype. I'm a real person just like you. I work hard, and this is what you can do with an eBay business if you just keep at it and keep learning. Um, it takes time to learn, and you're not going to learn it in 6 months. It's going to take a while to learn this, but just keep at it, keep going, and keep watching these videos, keep learning. Uh, the best way to learn is by doing, so just keep going. So this was a White House black market dress. I just thought this was so pretty, a strapless black cocktail dress. It was $3 and it sold for $32. This is one of those things I call a wardrobe staple, meaning it's just like in your kitchen when you always keep eggs and flour and sugar and vanilla and things like that on hand to make something. People have things like that in their wardrobe. It's black pants, white shirts, blazers, where they can make an outfit with it or use it for a special occasion. So little black dresses are definitely one of those things that may not look super exciting, but it's a wardrobe staple. People need them. Okay, let's do one more and then we will wrap this up. And I remember getting these shoes. Well, first of all, they were pink, and so that was they jumped off the shelf at me. These are called Nike Flyknit running shoes. I had to look up what they were, but these were $6 at Goodwill, and it was the Goodwill down in Buckhead. I remember going there with a friend that day and my daughter, and that store is just primo. It has the best stuff. It's just really far from me. And as my friend Charlotte, who is here in Atlanta, that I met at the Lunch and Learn, um, or Charlotte and Lynn were talking about this particular store, and it's like people beat each other up in there. Um, Lynn was saying that something about the Lily Pulitzer, the housewives are in there knocking each other down and beating each other up over this Lily Pulitzer because it's always in that store. And that store is just in one of the most expensive areas of Atlanta. So you're going to get more primo stuff. And people are a little aggressive in there. So that's just not my scene. But anyway, we were down there for something else. So these shoes I found for $6 and they sold for $60. So again, 10 times my investment. You can't beat that. Where else can you invest your money and make 10 times on it in a relatively short period of time? I'm saying less than a year. So anyway, I hope this video wasn't too long. We'll put my link to the Pinterest board below and check that out, but I will make another one soon and you can see the opposite of a haul, what really sold on eBay. Thank you for watching. If you're new here, welcome. I would love to have you subscribe and watch more videos about the right way to sell on eBay. Have a great day. Bye.